Hey guys, Dr. Brown here with Kubo Math. Tonight it's Algebra 1. We're looking at the time value of money. So let's get after it. All right, you'll see, and I should clarify this before I start. I've been using various information that I've gotten off the web, various textbooks and all, and one of them had different formulations in it than what I'm showing you here. And I don't know what your textbook has at school, but this is what you're going to see for compounded interest in the future. You'll see them talking, they won't have A here. You will in other calculations, but it's going to be like the monthly amount you're paying on something. So this is a future value. Okay, that equals the present value, or the principal, whatever that present in today's money, that times 1 plus I, with I being the interest rate, okay, and that's the interest rate per period. And N would be the period, so it might be per year, could be per month. But that interest rate and the number of periods have to match. So let's get after it here with a problem. Let's assume that our present value, our money today, is 5,000, depending on where you are in the world, rubles, pesos, dollars, whatever. So just insert your money there. So let's say we have 5,000 of your money, and our interest rate is 10%. 1 plus and 10%, which is 0.1, right? And we're going to invest that for 1 year. So N is 1. We're raising this to the first power. Well, if it's raised to the first power, it is just that, right? So I have 5,000 times 1 plus 0.1. And that's going to equal my future value. Well, I can distribute this 5,000, so that becomes 5,000 times 1, which is 5,000, plus 5,000 times 0.1. So now this becomes 5,000 plus 5,000 times 0.1 is 500. So that gives me 5,500. So this was my principal. And this was my principal times I. So you could change that. Let's see. F equals P times 1 plus I. Remember, N was 1. This is the only reason you can do this. So now I distributed that. P times 1 was P plus P times I. And that equals my future value. So we had 5,000 was P, my principal or my present day money, plus my present day money times the interest rate. Well, what about year 2? Oh, well, year 2, let's see. Now, let's see, let me draw a diagram here. Here we are at year 0. We started year 1. We started with 5,000. At the end of year 1, we had 5,500. What about the end of year 2? Well, we're starting the beginnings of year 2 with 5,500 plus my 5,500 times my interest rate, which was 10%. So what does that give me? 5,500 plus 0.1 times 5,500 is 550. So if I add that together, 6,050. At the end of, so after 2 years, I now have 6,050. Whoa. Well, we could go about that calculation in a different way. We could have just said, well, my future value equals my present value times 1 plus I to the N, where now N is 2 years. So I have 5,000 times 1 plus 0.1 is 1.1 to the 2 years. So 1.1 squared is 1.21 times 5,000. If you put that in your calculator, you'll get 6050, which is exactly what we had here. What if n were 30? Whoa. Let's think about that. What would that be? So let's let n be 30. So now 1.1 to the 30th power is 1745. I worked that out earlier, by the way. I didn't do that in my head. I wish I could. 5,000. That money is now growing by almost 17 and a half times. So that gives me 87,247 if I've done my math right. Warren Buffett, one of the richest, I think he's like in the top 10 richest people in the world, said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Take advantage of it, okay? All right, so that's how you would use future value equals present value times 1 plus I, 1 plus your interest rate, raised to the nth power the number of periods. And periods, by the way, could be months. But if it is months, then interest rate needs to be per month. If this is years, interest rate needs to be in per year of interest rate. And you'll notice here we had our interest per year was 10% and n was 1 year. All right, let's work a few more, see what we can do here. Hopefully everybody's been studying. I have a new marker here and it doesn't want to erase too well. All right. Let's see. All right, this person, they had their principal or their present value, what they invested was $1,250, again, whatever your units are for your money, we'll just say pesos. And they invested this for 1 year. And they earned $31.25. They earned $31.25. Let's go back to another definition. If I distribute P into this, P times 1 is P, plus, now this is, I'm letting N be 1, okay? So N equals 1. So P times I is PI. Remember, N is 1. Otherwise, I can't do this unless I took the natural log and got N down somewhere else. But P times I, that's my earned, the money that I've earned by interest. So let's go back to this problem. They earned $31.25. So PI equals $31.25. Now what they're asking us here is what was the interest rate of this deal that this person worked out. They put $12.50 and invested it for 1 year. They earned $31.25. Well, since I know P was $12.50, I can divide both sides by P. P divided by P cancel, or is 1. 1 times I is I, and that equals $31.25 over $12.50. So I equals $31.25. Let me get my calculator here. $31.25, $12.50, 0.025 or 2.5%. Not a very good investment. Okay, so 2.5%. What about, let's say we have one that we Okay, we want to know what P is. We don't know what it is, but interest is 6%. N was 1 year. And they earned 795. Again, whatever your pesos, dollars, whatever your unit of is, and I'll just think about it in pesos since I live here in the Philippines. So let's go back to that, what we had up here. They earned 795. We know I, now we can say, well, hey, we can do this. PI equal earned. So P, we don't know what P is. We know I, we know earned. So let's divide both sides. What do they want to know? P. So let's divide both sides by I. That leaves me P equals E over I. So P equals my earned of 795 divided by 0.06. So P equals 795 divided by 0.06, 113,250. Is that what I had there? Yeah, 13,250. So if you go back here and you said 13,250 times 0.06, listen, let me just do that. 13,250.06 times, you should get 795, and you do. So P, the principal or the present value of his money day one, he put in 13,250 pesos or dollars. 1 year later he gets 795 back. Okay, not bad on that one. Actually nowadays 6% return would be really good. I think the S&P 500 over its lifetime has averaged around 7%. So just think about that. Well, let's think about that one earlier. We had 5,000. If we had 5,000, we put it in. Say I'm 64. So at age 34, if I had $5,000 or I was in the U.S. then, so $5,000, which I didn't have, by the way. If I had it, 5,000 at 7%, 30 years later, what would that money be worth? So 5,000 times 1.07 raised to the 30th power. Whoa. 5,000. 1.07 to the 30th. That would be worth 38,061. Ooh. So that would have grown a lot. 5,000, 1.07 to the 30th. Yep, 38,061. The power of interest. It's amazing. Okay. And also the difference in 7% versus that problem we worked earlier at 10%. The money just multiplied really fast at 10%. All right, here we have one last one here. This is kind of cool. This one, the guy invested $12,000 or pesos in two different accounts. He invested in two different items, two areas. We're going to call it A and B. But they didn't describe how much money he put in A or B. It was just that the amount of money, P of A, we'll call it the principal in A plus the principal in B, we know equals 12,000. That's what we know. Okay, the interest rate was for A was 5%. The interest rate for B was 9%. He invested this for 1 year, and his return in total was $700 or pesos, whatever your units are. 700. So what they're wanting to know was how much money did he invest. They want to know P sub A and P sub B. Okay, we do know, remember we had this form, the earned money. We have P sub A times I sub A plus P sub B times I sub B, and that equals 700. We also know that. Okay, well, why don't we, now we have two equations, two unknowns, but we could say, let me go over here, P sub A plus P sub B minus P sub B equals 12,000 minus P sub B. P sub B cancels, so P sub A equals 12,000 minus P sub B. So I can go back to this equation and substitute for P sub A, because that equals 12,000 minus P sub B, and that's times I sub A plus P sub B times I sub B, and that equals 700. So now let's distribute the I sub A inside. 12,000 times I sub A minus I sub A times P sub B plus, I'm going to flip these around, I sub B times P sub B, and that equals 700. You'll see why I did that in just a moment. All right, 12,000 times I sub A. What is I sub A? 5%. So that number is times 0.05 minus I sub A, which is 0.05 P sub B, plus I sub B, which was 9%, so that's 0.09 times P sub B, and that equals 700. Okay, so 12,000 times 0.05 is 600. Now I have a minus 0.05 P sub B and a plus 0.09. So that gives me a plus 0.04 P sub B, and that equals 700. So now I'm going to subtract 600 from both sides. So now I have 0.04 P sub B equals 100. So divide both sides by 0.04. So these cancel. P sub B equals 2,500. Okay, now then, P sub A equals 12,000 minus P sub B, so minus 2,500, so P sub A equals 9,500. So his investment, he invested 9,500. Oh, that was P sub A. He invested 9,500 in this A option, and he invested 2,500 in the B option. And those sum together to be 12,000. Now we could, if we took 9,500 times 0.05, let me do that. 9,500 times 0.05, that gives me 475 plus this 2,500 times 0.09. 2,500 times 0.09, that gives me 225. So 475 plus 225 gives me 700. Yay. Wow. Okay. This is just some quick overview of interest rates, present day value, or present value of principals, future values, returns on investment, earned or returns. Now, I don't know if you guys have had natural logs yet, but what if future value is P times 1 plus I to the n? And we want to know I, and we're dealing with n is 20 years. So you could take the natural log of all of this. Natural log of the future value is natural log of P plus n natural log of 1 plus I. So, you know, study your natural logs, because this becomes very important about getting it down from something with an exponent to something that has an algebraic method to solving it. So, but we'll get into those as time goes on. Okay, why are we doing this? Hey, together we're trying to build a better tomorrow, and do that through math. Okay, that's all for now. Study, 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 guys, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.